has come up on the screen, and I'm going to play the music, and let's get this party started here. You're going to dance with me. Come on, Don.
So you want to be
So you want to be
a
cool kid. Hanging with the insect. Looking real. Cool and fine. Casting your net.
So you want to
We gotta wait for the drum roll. Bop, 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 bop. Thank you. We're gonna just fade that music out. I wrote the lyrics to So You Want to Be, and my good friend Serge Huffman in Paris, who's a composer and digital musician, not AI, wrote the music, and he sings the song. I'm Bonnie D. So happy to be here, and my special guest today, cool dude number 25, is Don D. Last name is DeLoach. That's the last time we will mention that. I've known him for years, and I've really never gotten to know him until I asked him who he really was. Don, welcome to We Dish. How are you?
I'm great. Nice to be here.
I'm glad it's nice to be here. You're a busy guy, and I'm just absolutely thrilled. You've been on my Technology Revolution show so many times. Sometimes I say to you, if anything happens to me, you can take over the show, Don. Has that ever happened?
No.
No, but you bring me some interesting people, and we've done a show on the future of construction in AI recently, the future of sustainability in AI, the future of smart cities in AI. You've introduced me to a lot of very interesting people, so I want to say thank you. And this is my gift to you is let's open the kimono. I don't know if I like that phrase and find out who Don D really is. So are you ready for my intro?
Fire away.
Got your seatbelt on? Okay, here we go. You know us well, Bonnie D and Don D too. We got two Ds here. Seasoned in life, and we love what we do. From LinkedIn's halls and social's embrace, we love sharing insights in our savvy people space. Now here on We Dish, we're here to play, lightening up life in our uniquely fresh way. Welcoming Don D, a very cool dude I'm proud to call my friend. Here's my rhyming intro, then more details he will lend. The story of Don D, a journey of leadership, technology, and learning. When Bonnie speaks to Don D, the wheels of knowledge are always turning. Here we go. Don D was born and raised in Atlanta's embrace. His father sold newspaper ads with a madman's grace. A Kings Point grad and navigator bold, 2 world tours, warm water and cold. Don's mother was the heart, the home's guiding light. Together his parents shaped his future bright. Don was raised in a world of change, the youngest of 3 with dreams wide range. An entrepreneurial spark lit his way, finding new ventures day by day. In elementary school, he stood up tall, an altar boy leader. He answered the call. Weddings became his first payday score. 96 unions, who could ask for more? At 13, Don sought a job of his own, determined to earn, to stand alone. On his 2 wheels, he rode up and down, filling job forms out all over town. IHOP called. Don landed the gig, a busboy job, clearing tables small and big. Now a 7th grader with a checking account? Hard work paid off. His pride did mount. High school next, Don played it smart, balancing sports, music, and school to start. A talent show win, his band on the rise. Then Six Flags called, Don, we're calling, with a thrilling surprise. From haunted house foreman, where Don led the fray, to juggling and dancing, a panther at play. Managing shows and concerts with flair, a taste of leadership skillful and rare. At Georgia, I'm not even halfway done. At Georgia Tech, Don's path was clear. Industrial engineering, shifting gear. A co-op program with lessons vast, building experience that would last and last. Prime Computer launched Don's tech debut, a systems engineer among the smartest few. He soared in sales, a rising star. Technology and strategy took him far. At Honeywell, a team Don led, though older in years, he forged ahead, shifting sales to partner ties, a strategy bold. He was a leader wise. Hitachi came with challenges steep, but Don pushed forward and profits leaped. A 350% revenue rise proved Don's methods were truly wise. Sybase called. Don, this is Sybase. Answer the phone. Don seized the lead with his industry focus, a new breed. Chicago bound, his plans took a twist. A growing family, success amidst. As CEO, Don built a dream. Ucentric rose to the mainstream. An IPO planned, then markets fell. But J.D. Edwards saw the sell. More ventures followed, tech refined from IoT to data Don mined. Smart cities, councils, books in hand, shaping futures, ideas grand. Don was teaching minds, advising bright entrepreneurs getting set to alight. A turnaround pro, a guiding force, Don led firms on a better course. And beyond the boardroom, Don's passions shine music, writing, cycling time, with family first through highs and lows, a life well lived as his legacy grows. And now I welcome Don D, a leader true, with vision clear and wisdom too. From tech to business, a journey ever bold, a trailblazer's spirit, new ventures yet to unfold. What do you think?
Wow. That was well done.
Thank you. And let me finish it out here. We're here on We Dish, chatting on life's score, culture, music, food, and oh, so much more. Join us live or on demand, day or night. We won't be here, but that's what on demand is for. And enjoy our dishing with shared delight. Meet us for real here in our live streaming glow. Comments are welcome. Just play nice. We know who you are. We know. We Dish, two saucy dame and cool dude too, Bonnie D and Don D, dishing on life's fun. Pour vous. That's for you in French. So what'd you think?
Nice, nice. A kind and charitable characterization. So thank you.
I'm glad you're very welcome. I had help from I call her my virtual assistant. Her name is Sylvie. She's French, and I'll tell you more about her later on. But I think you know who she is. We speak in French, by the way. So let's do a little bit of. Did I miss anything that you want to tell us about, Don?
I mean, you went down quite a litany. Where do you want to start? I'm happy to go any place.
Anything that you feel that you want people to know? Because I didn't know most of this about you. I just know you as Don from Chicago, who always has a corporate background behind you and introduces me to very interesting people and brings them to my Technology Revolution show. I didn't know about your storied history. I didn't know about you being a turnaround pro. I didn't know about the busboy job. I didn't know about having a checking account and applying for jobs at seventh grade. I feel like I'm getting, and I wrote to you. I emailed you and I said, hello, do I know you? I never knew any of this. So anything you want to fill in that you think is important you'd like people to know?
No, I mean, so when I got started out, I knew I wanted to go into sales, and I had co-opted Southern Company. And because of that, I had real working experience. So when I graduated from Georgia Tech, I wanted to go into technology sales, and none of the technology companies are going to hire somebody as a salesperson right out of college. Most of them won't hire anybody right out of college in a sales office. But they said, since you have experience, working in the environment, we're gonna count that as your prior experience. And I got hired at Prime as a systems engineer. And they said, if you do a really good job after 2 years, we'll consider you for a sales job. And a year to the day of being hired, I switched over and went into sales. And it proved to be a pretty nice launch for my career. But if I look over the arc of my career, up until about 5 years ago, and even spattered in the last 5 years through a bunch of consulting work that I've done, most of my career has been being brought in, with the exception of Ucentric, most of my career has been being brought into troubled situations where they need course corrections. They're underperforming. There are industry issues, or there are reputational issues, whatever. And it turned out, and wasn't really ever sitting around at Georgia Tech thinking, boy, I want to go in and turn organizations around. That wouldn't have been a normal thought. But it turned out I was actually pretty good at it. And the funny thing is, the one of the key elements, not the only key element, but one of the key elements of being able to go into a troubled situation and fix it, is being able to kind of look at the big picture and step back and say, what outcomes do we want? Mm-hmm. Where are we today? What kind of things do we have to do to get there? And you kind of have to look for the interdependencies between the elements and understand, what dials can you move in unison to get to the right place. It might be people issues, it might be market focus issues. Generally speaking, it's always really basic fundamental elements that get overlooked along the way. And I kind of developed an aptitude for doing that. And I laugh because for the longest time, I would tell people I never practiced industrial engineering a day in my life. And one day it dawned on me, I had been doing that every day of my life, because the essence of industrial engineering and systems engineering is really to look at the systems from a holistic standpoint and optimize holistically, not at the individual level. And so, that kind of became part of who I was. I have told people this as well. I wouldn't wish that as a career path for anybody, because in some ways you work 3 times as hard for about a third of the money. And so it's a tough slog, but over the years, I've kind of figured out it's what I do best. And, in some ways I enjoy doing it. It's tough, but I enjoy doing it.
Later on, I'm going to ask you what your superpower is, but I think you just answered that, so I might skip that question. Don, talking about laughter and fun, let's find out what some of your favorite music is. What makes you a cool dude? What reflects you being a cool dude? Do you think you're a cool dude? Let's start there. Don, what do you think?
No, absolutely not.
Most of my guests say that.
I would never characterize myself that way, nor do I think anybody who knows me would either. But so my taste in music is really eclectic.
Okay.
My father was a drummer in a big band, in the 30s and 40s before he, went off to World War II. And I grew up on, Glenn Miller, Artie Shaw. My brother is to this day a music critic. He writes for a European and for an Atlanta-based publication, and has a profound and broad knowledge, music, repertoire. But his main influence on me was more progressive jazz. So like Coltrane, Miles Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely have the jazz part in my background, but my band was more but the band I had in high school was more singer-songwriter. And so
what was it called? What was the name of your band?
Elgin Darien and the One Night Band. And the One Night actually almost is an accurate assessment. We only played a few times.
Okay.
But I enjoyed playing. I play piano and guitar, but as I've gotten older and kinder, I generally only play when there's nobody else around as a courtesy to the other people.
You're funny. So give me 3 songs that you really like or that help to shape who you are.
Okay, 3 songs that I really like or help to shape who I are. So songs I really like, and this is probably more on the sentimental. I wouldn't say these are the most impressive artistic songs, but I really like This Side by Nickel Creek. As it turns out, I kind of like Americana type music, and as one of many types of music that I like. And I was looking for a great background song for a 20th anniversary video I did for my wife. And I stumbled onto Nickel Creek and I really liked it. And the words were it was all about acceptance, creativity, personal growth. And so it kind of resonated with me. So I used that as the fourth and anchor song of the video that I put together. And I've always loved that song. Another one by John Andrazik, Fight for Fighting, Chances. I love the storyline and the message of that. And, I'm kind of a believer that there's just all kinds of things that get thrown at you. And it's not so much what gets thrown at you as much as how you handle it.
Yep.
And I'm also partial to tracks that have piano scores in them, and all of his work has that. I've also gotten to be because of one of my really close friends, I've got to be a really big Grateful Dead fan.
Ah,
And in particular, if I'm really being honest, it's less Grateful Dead and more Dead and Company.
mm-hmm,
John Mayer fan, and I was before, but when he started playing with Dead and Co., he basically he kind of revived. They did further and various incarnations of the Grateful Dead after Jerry Garcia died, but it wasn't until they brought John Mayer in and created Dead and Co. in 2015 that their resurgence really, in my mind, that really became much more widely embraced. And I became quite a fan, much to the chagrin of some of the people around me. I'll give you an example.
mm-hmm.
So I teach at Illinois Tech, and I I don't do this all the time, but for the first couple of semesters, I was teaching for about 10 minutes before the class started, and we'd have 40 or 50 people in the class. I would put music videos of Dead and Co on while the kids were coming in, and it just kind of got to be my thing. And I realized maybe I should dial that back a tiny bit, but
No, but that's what a cool dude does. You were being a cool dude. You didn't even know it. Maybe you did.
just one on TV. But anyway, yeah. So and again, I come in the morning and I listen to classical music or sometimes one of my favorites is Michael Giacchino, he does a lot. He's a composer, but he does a lot of musical scores. And what I find is that that's really good background music for concentrating on things early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I really do like all kinds. A couple of my kids are big into country, and I certainly, like that to some extent.
Do you have a
But
favorite country performer? Favorite song?
let's see. I mean, Luke Bryan.
Okay.
Uh, uh, what's the three?
Who are you thinking?
The song "Hey Bartender." Who's the band? It's three people in the band. I'm drawing a blank.
Not Georgia Florida Line or Zach Brown Band. What is it called? Hey Bartender?
Yeah.
Hi Bartender song. The Blues Brothers.
No, no,
No, that's one of them. Let me see. Hey Bartender. There's a film. Johnny Lee.
nope.
Song by Johnny Lee. Bartender song by Rehab. It's all over the place. I'm getting Hey Bartender song. What am I finding here? Johnny Lee, Del Corey, McCory Band, Grant Gilbert, Luke Deuce, the Blues Brothers, Floyd Dixon, Podge Lane. That's all I'm getting. Lady Antebellum. That's the one
Lady
you think.
Antebellum.
Lady
Exactly.
Antebellum. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Anyhow, like I
Very,
say,
very cool. I think you are. Well, you want to know some of my songs?
sure.
Okay. Well, I was teaching disco. I was teaching hustle and line dances and Latin dancing. And when I was living in Eugene, Oregon, I was a dancer, and my partner and I did a lot of exhibitions and we did dance classes. And I was a big Donna Summer fan back in the era of real disco. And I realized, Don, over the years that her discography has a lot of titles that lead to a discography of my life. So I put together a list. One is She Works Hard for the Money. You know I do.
Huh?
One is Hot Stuff, even though I'm not a streetwalker in LA. That's what it was about, hot stuff. Yeah, we know that one. On the radio, I've been doing this for what, 25 years now, or was it that long? No More Tears, Enough is Enough is Enough is Enough. I think that's a duet. I keep saying I think it's with Streisand, but that's a wonderful. I've had time where I've said to people, enough is enough. Last Dance, Last Dance, Last Chance for Love. I'm messing that up. I had my last exhibition dance years ago, but I dance in the kitchen now and it's fine. I Feel Love, Giorgio Moroder in that synthetic music, da 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 da. I feel love, love. And I did a dance contest with my partner Michael years ago at a club called the Copacabana in Eugene, Oregon, nothing to do with the Copa in New York. And we danced to Donna Summer's Heaven Knows Just How Much I Love You from the MacArthur Park Suite.
Mhm.
And we sewed our own costumes. His mother did his from blue silk, and I was sewing all my own clothes. And we came in from opposite sides of the dance floor. I was about 97 pounds, and Michael was strong. He was a former Arthur Murray teacher, and he lifted me up Travolta style, like Saturday Night Fever, and spun me around over his head and then did the death drop. And I had a black skirt that was a full circle black satin and it was 6 inches above the floor. And then we did our routine and we came in third in a disco Hawaii contest. So Heaven Knows was our song. Da, 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 da. We came in from opposite sides. I was a programmer analyst at Lane Community College at the time, and they let me use a classroom for my dance rehearsals with Michael. So he would come after hours, and the school was still open, and they would let me use a classroom. We moved the desks, and we rehearsed our routine in a classroom at the college. So that was really, really cool. You didn't know any of that about me, did you?
Have this slight variation from the scene in Saturday Night Fever, now rendered in a classroom.
There you go. Absolutely. Some of my happy songs are Happy Dance by Mercy Me, Dancing Queen by ABBA, Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Pat Benatar. We've all said that to people, I think, respect Aretha Franklin. I've had the time of my life. I'm not done yet, but I don't know. Dirty Dancing for Bill Medley and Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun and Groovin' by the Young Rascals. So those are some of my theme songs about the lyrics, about what they say rather than, and I like them all musically wide. So now we know a little more about each other. So this part of the show is called OTT Off the Top. And I have some questions, and it's not an interview because I will pose the topic. I'll have you answer, and then I'll give you my answer as well. So, okay, so let's see where we go. So, what do you eat for breakfast or the earliest meal in the day that powers you somehow for your day? Or what do you like to eat when you get up? Any of those?
I generally just have an inappropriate amount of coffee early in the morning.
What kind of coffee? Do you brew it? Do you make it? Do you buy it? Is it brewed? Is it a pod? What is it?
It's a Keurig cups, and
Okay.
I keep a healthy supply at home, and I keep a healthy supply at the office. I get in very early, and I don't really want to eat early in the morning.
Hmm.
Kind of power through the morning, and then there's nothing specific I'll generally have for lunch, but the coffee in the morning is a must.
What
And
flavor? What's the flavor of the coffee? What do you like?
just kind of
Dark roast, light roast, medium roast?
just straight up dark roast.
Okay. Okay. I can't do caffeine anymore. I wish I could. So I drink peppermint tea and chamomile tea and all of those. But my morning power is 6 ounces of 1 ounce, 1% milk in an individual Hamilton Beach blender that has a pulse button. It doesn't go on or off. Depending on the size of the banana, not too ripe, but not too, if you eat a banana that's not really ready, Don, it leaves a chalky taste in your mouth all day. It's very strange. So I buy 9 bananas a week when I go for my weekly shopping trip, and I get some are a little bit of green and some that are just about to get ripe. And then so if it's a very large banana, I'll have half. If it's a small one, I'll have the whole thing. So banana, frozen sliced strawberries, unsweetened, a couple of shakes of Hershey's dark cocoa with no sugar in it. And the frozen strawberries serve like an ice cube. They keep it cold. And then I add a little bit of raw agave syrup, which is a substitute for sugar. I
Mhm.
don't know how many calories it has. And once in a while, I'll put a little shake of ginger powder in it. And I blend that for about 3 minutes. And I put a reusable straw. Heard a late night comedian say they've revived the pipe cleaner industry because when you buy these straws, they come with a pipe cleaner on a long metal handle, and that's how you clean the straw, which I do diligently all the time. So that's my power shake in the morning, and that keeps me going pretty much until noon, depending on whether I'm doing radio. My technology show, is 11 Eastern on Wednesday, so I'll have that before I go on, and then I'll have lunch after. So would you ever think of a shake like that, Don?
You know, I mean, I have in the past, but that would not be a regular thing for me. Um, Probably in part due to just the other, I can't, when I get up in the morning, I'm kind of up and out. So I would
Hmm.
do that in the morning. And then when I'm at my office, it's much easier just to use the coffee, the Keurig. So
Okay.
there's a blend of what I'm looking for in convenience that the
There you
lazy
go.
side of me says, let's stick with what is working.
There you go.
No,
Okay. What's something that you made or bought for yourself that brings you a lot of joy? present, past, something that you just say, "Wow, I'm glad I have that. I made it. I bought it. I own it. I borrowed it." Something that's really makes you happy?
Something I made or bought for myself.
Yeah, it could be a car, could be a record album, it could be a piece of fruit, it could be something that made you happy.
So this is digging way back, but
Okay.
um, I I had an MG midget when I was in high school. That
Ooh,
was awesome. And
racing green? Racing green?
no, it was the sort of the mustard color that they, it was
Okay.
standard issue color for them.
Okay.
And it was a 72 with the chrome bumpers on it. And I loved it. And I got in a 7 car pileup in on the highway in the pouring down rain. Um, and MG midgets do not last a long way, and it's a miracle that I got up and walked away from it because you don't really want to be in an MG midget when you're in a 7 car pileup. And then I like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I bought a Fiat X19 that I thought was really cool. It was very handled great, but I really, really liked the MG. So I went and I bought another one when I was in college.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget this. I bought it and I told my parents I was going to rebuild it. And I took over their garage for the summer. I was working at Southern Company on my a co-op quarter, and I was getting close to graduating it. And I promised them I would have it done by Labor Day. And literally, there were like 100 nails in the wall with parts hanging from it. And I didn't know what I was doing. That didn't seem to deter me. And I did have the proverbial parts left over that should have been in the car, but I didn't know where they were. But I finished it the week I had to finish it. I had promised I would get it done by Labor Day, and I was like going to work and then coming back and working till like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
I forget being underneath the car and seeing 2 feet standing by me, and it was probably like 4 o'clock in the morning. And it was my father who had brewed some coffee, and he kind of looks on her and goes, it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't have this done by Labor Day. But I was
Oh,
so determined, and I did get it done. And we repainted it fire engine red with black interior. It was
oh,
really nice. But then I ended up selling it, which I forever regret. But I loved it. It was so awesome. And I saw one like about 6 months ago, and I thought to myself, what I would give to have that back.
there you go. I
How
had
about
I had a similar car accident, but finish what you were going to say. I'll tell you about mine. Go ahead.
what's my answer? So what's your answer to that?
Well, I've been driving, they were originally Datsuns and Nissans, Zs. I had the 280, I had the 300, I had the 350, I had the 370, and I think it was the 370, my last one, was in a one-car pileup on a highway in Durham, North Carolina on a rainy Saturday afternoon. I've written a micro nonfiction story about it. I'll send it to you. And I was driving home from my drum lesson at School of Rock, and I started to lose traction. And I looked around, I said to myself, 3-lane highway, rain, everybody's still doing 75 or 80. This is not good. And as I was thinking what I was going to do, about to go on an overpass, I would have gone over the edge and died. The car basically took the wheel out of my hand and spun across the other 2 lanes and landed 180-degree turnaround facing oncoming traffic, impaled on the metal guardrail in the middle. But the miracle is that nobody stopped, nobody beeped, nobody hit me, nobody called the cops, nobody called a tow truck, nobody called anything. There was no skidding, there was no yelling, and nobody stopped. Nobody hit me. To this day, I have no idea how that happened. I would give anything to see a traffic cam to see exactly how I went across 2 lanes of traffic right next to me and landed with the motor running, with the lights on, and a little squeeze ball that my dad had given me, one of those things you grip when you're, nervous. I said the kind of thing you'd use for a root canal, oh my God, I don't want to feel the pain because I don't take Novocaine. It had landed popped out of my purse and was sitting on the seat next to me. So basically, my dad was, who had passed years before, was there smiling at me. And I had to call the police. I had to call the tow truck, and cars were going by. Dawn, I was about 12 inches from oncoming traffic in the high-speed lane, and nobody stopped and nobody did anything. And I called a friend, and he said he had trouble getting across 3 lanes to come and find me. I
Right.
had to call the tow truck. It was the most amazing thing. But the policeman said to me, "It's a miracle you're alive."
Wow. That's
And
quite a story.
and to this day, and the car was declared totaled. And what was interesting was it was beautiful. It was white with a red rag top and red leather interior. And
Oh,
it's
that
beautiful. And the right rear panel was destroyed on this guardrail. But what the cop said to me was, "Why didn't you get out and stand on the side?" I said, "First of all, it's raining. Second of all, if I opened my door, it would have smashed into oncoming 85-mile-an-hour traffic. Third of all, in the median strip, Don, there was a swamp that was, I don't know how deep, but it was about 10 feet wide between sides of the highway. And in it were floating pieces of wood and metal and tire rims and garbage." And he said, "Why didn't you get out and stand there?" And I said, "Just because." I couldn't even understand why he asked the question. He said, "Lady, you are lucky to be alive." And I showed him the ball. I said, "My dad was here for me." And I cried, but I wiggled my hands and feet, my toes. So anyway, I had to give up the car. But the other part of the miracle was the insurance company paid me almost to the dollar what I had paid to buy that car 3 years earlier as a used 370 in perfect condition. And I looked high and low for another Z because it would have been I owned five of them from early on, and you couldn't touch them. This was 2023.
Mhm.
2021, you couldn't touch them. The second one went on sale, Don, online, Carvana or any of those, the second somebody posted it, it was sold, even before they put the picture up. Not a single dealer in Durham had one online on a lot somewhere, was taking one in on trade. You couldn't find them. And one day I drove up to a Chevy dealer on this, mile strip of car dealers in outside Durham. And the young man came up in a golf cart and he said, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I'm looking for a Z." He said, "Wait a minute." He took his little golf cart and he went to shall we say, the sister or the brother dealership of this Chevy. They had a Land Rover dealership 2 miles away. He came back and he said, "I have a Z for you." He said, "Give me a few minutes." Went out again and drove up with an absolutely perfect black BMW Z4 convertible. Black leather inside, one owner, no smoking, fairly low mileage. He said, "Do you want it?" I said, "I'm getting my checkbook out." And I wrote him a check for $52,000 on the spot. And I couldn't believe I had that much money to spend.
Wow.
But when the insurance check came 3 weeks later for the other car, it paid me back for half of that. So I drive a Z now, and it's beautiful. And the license plate on the front is on a mirror, and it says akaRadioRed, which is my name on my Monday show. So that's
Okay.
my Z story. So there you go. And I miss that. I still miss the car. I love my Z. So deep breath, deep breath. Anyway, I'll send you the story. I think you'll enjoy it. I put it on Medium. Let's see. Uh-oh, I have a phone call. Is Steven Spielberg? Is James Cameron? It's Martin Scorsese? It's David E. Kelly? It's Shonda Rhimes? It's Greta Gerwig? They're all saying, we want to do a movie or a TV show about Don D. We want to do a story of his life. He's such an interesting guy. Tell Don to make up his mind. Does he want a movie? Does he want a TV series? And who does he want to direct and produce his show? Don, what do you think?
Wow.
Yeah.
That would have been one it would have been nice to have prepared for.
Okay.
Who to direct?
Yeah, and think of the style. Think of it was Scorsese or Cameron or anybody, Spielberg, Shonda Rhimes. A real
I mean,
chatty TV series. What would you like?
I think that Guy Ritchie has this really, one of my sons is totally in the film business
Uh-huh.
and really has this immense understanding across the board of, you name a director, you name an actor, it's like he's gonna, but he's the one who pointed out, what a very specific style Guy Ritchie has. And when I was watching, I think it was The Gentleman. You start to notice. I think it was The Gentleman. You just start to notice the way they do these shots and stuff, which I think is great. I'm not sure if that style fits a story about me. I've never really thought about what kind
Okay.
of style would fit a story about me, but I do like how engaging he can be. A little over the
Okay.
top sometimes, but engaging. So
So
I'm
would
not.
it be a drama, a fantasy, action, a romance, a mystery, a comedy, a thriller? What would it be? What would the main genre be for your movie?
It would be um, comedy, drama, uplifting.
Ooh, I like that. And critical question, two questions. What would the title be? And who would play you? Oh my goodness.
The title be um, the title might be something like All Out because I have a lot of kids in a big family, and between that and the kind of what I've chosen as a career path, it's like there's always something going on, and you're never quite getting it all done because there's just always a little bit more than you can get to. But it's fun. I mean, my life, in a lot of ways, has always revolved around a lot of family stuff and a heavy workload. And I've a bit of a I hate the term workaholic because I think that's kind of stupid, but I pour a lot of myself into my work. But I'm so if I go back, so what would the story, what kind of a story would it be? When I say drama, uplifting comedy, the comedy would be about the stupid things that I've done along the way, or the funny stories that come from my kids who may be more philosophical in observing things than I would hope. That make me laugh because I'm like, how did you learn that? Um, but more than that, so I really love learning. And I've kind of immersed myself into a world where I'm exposed to new things all the time.
Hmm.
I really like that part of it. I love how my family interacts with each other. So the uplifting drama part, there's always tons of drama in a big family, but when you see how much they all want to be together, that's the uplifting part.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that, and that none of that corresponds to what a Guy Ritchie movie would be. So I don't know what I'm talking about in that regard, but um,
Who would
I'm,
play you? Who would star?
gosh, who would star?
Would it be a Matthew Broderick? Would it be a Tom Cruise? Would it be a Matt Damon? Would it be a any of the younger stars? Would it be a Robert Redford? Who would it be?
Yeah, more of a Tom Hanks type of,
Okay,
um, I guess. Again, this is not a question I have ever pondered, so I'm
good,
a little
good.
flat-footed in terms of giving you an answer.
That's okay. I wanted, that's why it's called Off the Top. That's why this segment is called Off the Top. Exactly right. You just proved that. Mine would be a TV series, and it would be called either She Works Hard for the Money or Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And it would be starring a redhead. It would be half comedy, half musical. And it would have been Lucille Ball. I flatter myself, but it'd probably be Reba McEntire. I'm watching her new show, Happy's Place, and it's fun. The dialogue is good. I enjoy her singing, and she's a redhead. Bette Midler, somebody suggested to me, and I said, no, I don't think that would be the right fit for me. It would probably be Reba McEntire in a country style, happy sitcom-ish type of cleverly written. I don't know if I'd have Mindy Kaling write it or somebody like that, but yeah. And if she had red hair, she's in a new. Have you seen the basketball sitcom called Running Point? And Kate Hudson is the only daughter in a family of terribly dysfunctional people, and the father dies and leaves the basketball team to her. They're
Oh,
all working in it, and she becomes the president, and they all think, "What? What? Seriously? She was an F up, and she was posing for Playboy, and she was doing drugs and all that." Well, she turns the team around and does amazing things, and she's a huge basketball aficionado and knows everything about everything. So, but I like her in the role, and they never stop talking about how much older she is. She's still a young girl, as far as I'm concerned. But if she had red hair, I probably would want her to play me. So there. What do you think?
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, I like her. I haven't seen that show, but
Brand new, and it's already been renewed for a second season. It's 10 episodes, and they're only 28 or 30 minutes long. So you could watch for 2 hours and do half of the season, almost half the season.
and what venue is this on? Is it
I think
Net?
it's either Netflix or Prime.
Okay.
I just watched it I watched it last weekend. So
And
yeah,
again, what's it
might like
called?
Running Point.
Running
And the
Point.
O in point is a basketball in the logo.
All right, good to
Look
know.
look for Kate Hudson. Yeah, it was really cool. So I might want her. I just thought about that. So headlines. You got some. Now this segment of the show is called Say What? You got to say it exactly like that. Say what? I used to call it wacky stories, but these are fairly lighthearted. And I understand yours are going to be about some businesses, some startups, which is your wheelhouse. I have some. Handpicked three articles to share with you, and I'm going to show mine. But why don't you do one, and then I'll do one, and we'll go back and forth. And we're really good on time. I'm watching the clock. I know you have to go at the half hour. So Don,
Yeah.
what's your first story?
I would, well, let me just give you the umbrella. Most of the things that I follow that would be even remotely suitable for this conversation would be, I follow news about startups that I've mentored, either in a consulting role or through Smart City Works, in the Washington D.C. area. Most of the ones I'm following are from the Smart City Works. And so it would range from mental health services for underserved populations to vertical farming, aeroponic farming, a lot of construction related, a lot of energy related. But like, so I'll just give you an example. I just pulled up an article that's, you don't always need AI driven automation to run a successful vertical farm.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily the type of news feed everybody wants to be getting.
Mhm.
But I like seeing these things because it keeps me informed about the industries that are associated with people I care about. I mean,
Mhm.
when you, especially if you're running an accelerator program, especially the way we run it, which is a very, very um, deep dive into these companies, you form these relationships that are lasting. And
Mhm.
so I find myself trying to keep up with the industry. So whether it's vertical farming or two-sided markets for helping DIYers, uh,
Mhm.
those are the type of articles that I'm following.
I have a feeling we left one thing out of your bio, my opening rhyming bio, and we didn't mention Rocket Wagon Ventures Studio, right?
Right.
By name. And I think that could be the title of your movie. Rocket Wagon Venture. Why not? Why not? I had to throw that in there, Don. Go ahead. So give me an example. And by the way, I want you to bring me for Technology Revolution. I'd like to do one on hydroponic farming. We have to get AI in there for the theme of my show. But I'd love for you to bring me three people plus yourself to talk about farming. I haven't
Well,
covered that.
as it turns out, I'm talking to the CEO of the company that I'm referring to is called Biodome. And I mean, the guy who's the founder and CEO is a great story. He built his first biodome in his parents' backyard, and was growing aeroponic plants, in the backyard. This is like you find these people. This is why I love helping certain startups. Is a lot of times there are highly purpose-driven people
Mm-hmm.
who have a passion for solving a problem,
Yep.
and sometimes it's I was going to say sometimes that passion is seeded very early on. I realized that.
Well done. I love the punch.
Uh,
Give me a little punchline on this story, and then I'll give you one of mine. So we'll go back and forth. Go ahead.
it's just basically saying that right now everybody's thinking that anything you need to do has to have AI in it, and what they're saying is you don't really always need that, and that's probably true. I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
fan of AI and have done a lot of work across a number of companies in that space, but a lot of times people don't know enough about it, and it becomes an end all be all for everything, and that isn't true either.
Okay. Oh, so the life story. So I was thinking of Steve Jobs and building Apple in his garage, and with Wozniak and how they all started. So many people have started in a garage or a backyard or something. So this would be another one of those stories. So let me give you one of mine, and I'm going to share the visuals here, and I think you'll enjoy this. I'll make this brief. So let me share a screen here, and tell me if you can see. Did you know that there is a Swedish city, Don? I picked this exactly for you because of your involvement with smart cities, made entirely out of wood. Building with timber rather than concrete or steel could be key to offsetting construction industry emissions. Okay, the practice of using wood as a primary material began to decline in the 19th century. Wood City, in Stockholm is said to be the world's largest city built entirely out of timber. Have you heard about this, Don?
I have not. I've been to Stockholm many times.
Well, I picked this one specifically for you. The practice of using wood as primary construction material, a fireproofed engineered wood is bringing it back into play more regularly, and the upcoming development in Sweden aims to be a model for countries around the world. Check out this week's featured article. And this was from convertkitmail.com, and I will be happy to send you the article. Is that something? There it is.
Yeah.
Interest, Interesting? Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and you do your next one, and then I have another one for you. Go ahead.
Okay. The next one is one that I found that was focused on expanding waste services aimed at construction sites. And this is going to give you a glimpse into the riveting stuff that I'm looking at. But it's funny because when I pulled it up, I had to do a double take because the the company that it's showcasing is based right near where my mother grew up in Southwest Louisiana.
Hmm.
And I don't really see many stories coming out of there, but it's a waste services company that is mobilizing for construction sites when they shut down. And the reason I track that, and the reason that came up on my hit list, if you will, is there's a startup that we worked with, really fascinating, where the founder is a woman from Spain who moved to Utah, who created a company that, and she did her PhD dissertation on sort of the circular economy and how construction sites have leftover materials and tools when they close a site down, and a lot of those end up in dump yards. And there's a carbon element to that, and there's a financial element to that. And so she's created what a platform for a two-sided market for construction companies to basically dispose of their excess materials and tools in a two-sided market where people can get the ones they need for less money. It's really thoughtful. And
It is. It's very, and it's something, you're right. People wouldn't be necessarily talking about that or know about that. What's the woman's name so we know?
Ais Medina,
Thank you very much. Let me
great.
sh Let me share my next one with you. Let me go back to a screen here, and I think you're going to like this one too. There's a new version of Monopoly, and they replaced the cash and the math with a mobile app, Don. Make bank like never before. It's called Monopoly App Banking. Hasbro announced it. It simplifies gameplay. It's a smartphone or tablet that plays the role of the banker and keeps track of everybody's money and the properties. It's expected to be available in August of this year for just under a penny under. Oh, pennies, never mind. $25. The accompanying app is free. Players provide their own mobile, and it's kid friendly also. Isn't that interesting? App banking. The game board features a similar layout to traditional versions of Monopoly, but it's updated with kid friendly alternatives to the iconic properties. Instead of Park Place and Boardwalk, they have a rocket launch pad and the moon. Some have a chocolate factory, a VR roller coaster, and a dinosaur park. So, what do you think? Is that cool?
Very cool.
Yeah, see, I did my homework. I wanted to have some really, really cool stories for you. So that's what it looks like. Monopoly app banking, build your empire. Woohoo! Interesting?
Yeah. So there's a version of Monopoly that's played as a card game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Monopoly Deal.
No.
Yeah, I'm not. I've played it a few times, so I'm not really an expert at speaking to this more than it's the kind of game you could play if like you have all of your kids and their spouses and grandkids together
Hmm.
for a holiday. And we played it the last holiday, when we all got together over the Christmas holidays, and it's kind of addicting.
Good.
Fun, but
Cool.
it's amazing how people will create derivative works from something like Monopoly.
And you wonder about the licensing and the spin-offs and all of that, and that's a whole other topic. What's your third article? And then I'll share mine, then we're going to close.
Okay. My third is really about um, EV charging, and the title, and well, it's talking about how the private sector EV charging projects continue to move forward. And I think that I like this one. And again, there's a startup that I'm helping that does remote EV battery charging, where he has robots that bring the battery charger to the light truck.
What?
It, it's for like light fleets. So like let's just say like Amazon or UPS or whatever, and they have all these light vehicles,
Hmm.
but they're in distribution centers that aren't necessarily, the capital investment in the charging hasn't been put there. And you can convert an existing distribution center to an EV, one that supports EVs, without having to build out all the charging stations per se, because the robots will bring the battery to the vehicle, which is, I think, really cool. And
Very.
um, and so that's what he's now rolling out. He's in his first production pilot, and but I've started tracking developments in the private EV charging sector, and I'm looking for where are there more innovations. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. But the title of this article was basically, despite certain rollbacks, private EV sector charging projects plug away. And I think that it's going to be interesting to watch, because there obviously
Very.
a variety of opinions on that. But I think that I don't think EV is going to go away. So
It's not. It might go in different directions and different iterations, but it's not going to go away. Here's my third article. I think you'll get a kick out of this. The academic field came into its own in the 1960s. We know that. The first U.S. graduates with advanced computer science degrees were in the mid 60s, and there were two candidates who both graduated June 7th, 1965. And you're seeing a picture of Sister Mary Kenneth Keller at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The other one was at WashU in St. Louis, and that was Irving Tang. This lady was born in 1913. She lived to 71, and she lived till 1985. Her language was basic, and she was born Evelyn Keller. Her name was changed. She took her vows as a nun at the age of 19. She was assigned to teach elementary and high school for 29 years, graduated from DePaul with a BA in mathematical sciences in 1943, and 9 years later in an MA in mathematics. She was a high school teacher in Chicago, Don, when she took her first computer workshop in 1961. And guess what happened? She said, I went out to look at a computer one day and I never came back. By delegating mundane tasks to computers, she said people could aspire to higher levels of learning. She was a trailblazer in education, expanding the reach of computer science. She was a founder of the ASCUE, the Association of Small Computer Users in Education, to bring more technology and computers into the schoolroom. She founded the Computer Science Department at Clark University in Iowa. She taught adult computer classes, and she tutored Buckminster Fuller. What do you think of that?
oh,
And she
wow.
helped develop educational modules for basic programming. And my goodness gracious, I was considered an early woman in tech, but nowhere. I was a lot later than this. And I did learn basic, but I programmed in COBOL and PL1. So I thought this was I thought you get a kick out of it,
And
especially because of the Chicago. What do you think?
you were also a nun?
No, no, none, no, not at all. But I was one of many people who enrolled at a community college. I already had a bachelor's degree. I enrolled at a community college in Eugene, Oregon, and I went to sign up. I needed something to do. I was a young divorcee, had two young kids, had no money. I had never worked. I was 27 years old. I was well taken care of until then. And my parents sent me, this is before email, Don, sent me a stack of brochures. They said, do something. They were in New York. I was in Oregon. And I looked at one said computer programming. So I talked to some friends and they said, there's a community college. It's 2 bus rides away. You don't have a car. You could get there. And I went and I said, I want to enroll in this class. And they said, we're sorry, it's filled. However, the registrar took me aside and she said, come for 2 weeks, stand in the back of the class or find a chair. In 2 weeks, more than half will drop out because they have no clue what it's all about and they don't want to do it. And I went for 2 weeks and they had a seat for me. And I was one of people who either had bachelors like me. There were people who had dropped out of architecture school, out of law school, who had finished their degrees, who were all kinds of graduate students who were curious about this thing called computers, Don. And it was a 2-year course. I took 2 associate's degrees, and they hired me to run a statewide community college information system right out of school. That was my first job at Lane Community College after I graduated. So there we go. So yeah, so I didn't know I was an early woman in tech until I talked to some young women today, and they said, oh my God, what's a mainframe? What's a key punch machine? What's COBOL? What's IN? What's all that stuff? And so I put together, I was the kickoff speaker on March 8th, 2023 for the Women in Big Data organization. And I showed them a slide deck of what a mainframe looked like, Xerox Sigma 3 CP5. Sigma 6 CP5. And I showed them all the pictures and they said, oh my God, this is from another planet. A computer as big as a warehouse? What are you, a room? With cables under the floor and things like carpet layers, devices pulling up tiles to like cables underneath. They had no idea. So that's how I found out I'm an early woman, but not as early as this Mary Keller. So Don, it's been lovely talking to you.
Always.
Really has. Yeah. So I'm going to name your movie Rocket Wagon Ventures. I think that's absolutely perfect. Rocket Wagon. And we'll find, yeah, Tom Hanks will probably be very happy to play you. I think that would be lovely.
Case. Yeah.
Do you have a quick piece of advice for anybody and I want you to send me some friends of yours who are cool dudes. I'm ready for more people. I've only talked to 25 people and you're my 25th. Okay. I didn't know if you'd accept, so I didn't ask you right away. But I've been doing this for about 4 months, so I'm looking for more. But any advice you give to a young man who's coming up through the ranks that says, oh, I want to be a cool dude like Don D, what would you say quickly?
Number one, Don is not a cool dude, so don't use me as a model. Number two, the guidance I give to most founders of startups is basically always be learning, especially if you're in the tech industry, always be learning.
Yep.
And never assume you know all there is to know because it changes so fast, which you know and say all the time.
Yes.
Just leave your ego at the door. I mean, the more you think you know in the context of other people, the less likely you are to be open to new things. And that's going to work against you. And it's also going to make you not a great person. So I think that to the extent that we can all kind of listen to other people a little bit more and understand that as much as you may know, there's always something else to learn. It's a happier way to go through life.
I like that a lot. And I will go to the ABC, always be curious and always be creative. I'll go with ABC. And I agree with you on that. You know me, I wasn't trained in broadcasting or any of what I'm doing now. And I was very shy growing up. And one day I just discovered I could speak English and write in English in addition to COBOL and PL1 and Fortran and BASIC and all of that. And I discovered, hey, I think I have a voice. And here I am 20 years later. So, Don, it has been absolutely delightful. I'm going to play the closing music and I'll send you all the links after. And I would love to do a show on hydroponic farming with you and some of your startup people. And I'm booking Technology Revolution for June and July already. So we have some time to get a panel together. Okay, so let me play this outro music here. Let me make sure we've got all the buttons on here and let's finish dancing. Come on, dance with me again. Come on, cool dudes dance at the opening and the closing. I'm a drummer too. Oh, Don, come on. Get ready for the big close. You're faking that. Bop, 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 bop. Thank you very much to Serge Hoffman, who put music and a voice to my lyrics. Don D, it has been delightful. Wave goodbye to LinkedIn, wave goodbye to Facebook, wave goodbye to YouTube.